So I notice something about myself when I watch myself on camera, but also I'm perceptive enough that I notice it just based on how I feel, especially when I'm thinking about my words and what to say. I'm very multifaceted, but it's like one face at a time. And I think that's what chameleoning is. Okay. I haven't made a video yet about chameleoning, so I just kind of talk raw about how I feel. Let's just say this is probably chameleoning. And yeah, basically it relates to people, sort of like mirroring. There's mirroring. Mirroring is when it's relating to specifically when, the interaction is reciprocal and you're sort of, somebody's like, yeah, for sure, I totally like hiking. And you're like, yeah, I totally do. And you're sort of like mirroring an aspect of their personality in order to kind of engage with them and communicate with them, because a lot of us have this sense of confused identity because we feel so multifaceted. We feel like we can kind of, especially the women, the Aspie women, and this is why we often get like misdiagnosed with things like borderline personality and stuff, because borderline personality also has sort of one of the main traits of it is that lack of sense of identity. And how do we know like how many women that have been diagnosed with BPD are Aspie? Because it's probably a huge percentage, like I've said in other videos that I'm working on releasing. Anyway, point is, mirroring. Okay, the word mirror means to project. I think there definitely needs to be more paper. I haven't read, the most recent literature on it yet. Actually, to be honest, I've just been trying to get to know myself now. I did so much studying about Asperger's, and now it's more like, how am I affected by it as a person? Anyway, mirroring to me sort of seems like you are projecting aspect of yourself on the other person. But then there's mimicking and parroting, which is the opposite. You're kind of mimicking them. So I think both is happening simultaneously in a way, because you're sort of looking for those traits in the person, because in order to interact, we have to have some sense of self, even if it's very slight, I think. So it's like we're looking for those traits in that person that kind of resonate with us enough to kind of mimic, I guess. So, I'm a cash, down to earth kind of person. So if that's their sort of character and they're wearing like baggy khakis and they're like, yeah, I like hiking. Well, part of me is like, yeah, I like hiking too. So I channel the yeah, I like hiking part of Rose out there. That's kind of like mirroring, I guess. And that's part of chameleoning. So that chameleoning means like wearing the color purple because you're with Purple Betty. Or, wearing the color green because you're with Gary Green. It's like you wear the color because the person that you are with is like a theme in a way, socially, or even the group. And so that's why we have to sort of, it's very, very anxiety producing for us to not know, to meet new people, because we don't know yet what the precedent is of how we're supposed to play that game. Now, let me be clear, we're not playing it because we're like devious manipulators. We're playing it because we really don't know we can't do anything else. That's how we cope. And to lump us in with intentional manipulators is just freaking mean. And again, that's how sociopaths and Aspies get mixed up all the time. I wouldn't call, you could, if you were being really cynical, you could call chameleoning and mirroring and parroting manipulating. Yes, you could, for sure. Is it a form of manipulating? Maybe. Is it devious? No, it's not. It's completely come by honestly. Can an Asper girl who's angry inside and upset and hateful and whatever use that honed skill for manipulating? Quite feasibly. Do they? Sometimes, but not that often. I find that we try to harm none as much as possible, and if we unintentionally hurt people, it is unintentional, and we usually own up to it. Sometimes it's just a miscommunication and both parties get hurt. That's why I called my newest ebook there after that bully comment, I called my newest ebook Not That Kind of Witch. And Rudy Simone too feels very much, very strongly about the whole sort of witch identification, because it is feeling like a witch hunt, how we're treated, us as Aspie females. Rudy Simone wrote Asper Girls, and Asper Girls changed my life, and I have the utmost respect for Rudy, and even she's been through a lot of crap and a lot of pain and a lot of misjudgment and, a lot of witch huntery, heretics and all this kind of thing. So, yeah, we've got to almost sort of have dark humor about it, because it really is that, we can't help mirroring. We can't help it. So back to why I originally started this video. It's hard on the identity when you hold yourself to a non-autistic standard and you expect yourself to be this non-autistic standard, and you feel compared to that like a freak as you're mirroring and having to chameleon and whatever in order to be able to basically function in the social situation. Now, when we get to know ourselves better, there's a way to find happy mediums and kind of do that, but at the same time retain our sense of selves. I'm getting a lot better at it. I used to completely lose myself, and now I'm getting a lot better at it. There's still so much learning to do, but I mean, I have that judgmental voice in my head, which is that voice of all of those mean neurotypical people that judged me since I was a little girl in school, all the way throughout teenage times, all the way throughout when I tried to ask for help. I'm now at the point where I'm completely cynical about asking for help. I mean, I go to meetings sometimes, I do things that are like confidential, I turn to my community. I've been so hurt by help services that I just feel like I can't take another attempt. And a lot of us feel that way, sadly, and that's not good. So, that needs to change. That's not fair. That people can't do their research and start to understand us a little bit better. We need the science. We do. We need the concrete facts about how autistic women present, how they cope, why, and have this all clarified for what it is, rather than having it be assumed that we're being devious. It's neurological. We can't help not being able to read people in conventional ways. We have to use other ways. We have to use our sixth sense. We have this sense of social responsibility, so we feel responsible to show enthusiasm, to show the expression, so we'll mirror and we'll chameleon. That's the way women deal with this neurological condition. It's not that hard to accept, really. It's not that hard to open your mind. I say that, and at the same time, I watch my videos back and I'm still judgmental of myself, and part of me goes, well, you look like you're faking it. Or wow, that's so freaking dramatic, Rose. Will you stop? And I'm not realizing that, I was really feeling, I was real in that moment when I was saying that thing. I wasn't acting nothing. It looked like I was acting because I was scripting. Scripting and acting are different. Scripting is a technique to communicate. Actually acting, is kind of like pretending and lying. That's not what I'm doing, but it can look like I'm doing it. The other thing is that I can look like I have some sort of I hate to say it, like a multiple personality thing almost, because sometimes when I make videos, I'm in a static flavor, mood flavor kind of thing, where it's like I'm annoyed by something, so I'm like annoyed Rose, or I'm like happy Rose, or I'm both tough and fragile, right? That's why my music name is like Rosy Tea Flower. It's like a flower that's steeping in hot water. Some videos I show like a more soft-spoken, fragile, sweet side of me. In other videos, I'm kind of more like angsty and tough. Well, I'm both those things, but it's it just kind of depends on what kind of mood I'm in, and that's I'm sure part of my autism too. I know that both are very much a part of me. What my neuropsych always said to me is that gentle part of me, that loving, gentle kind of part of me, is actually kind of more of my core. And my angsty rebel part of me is like the surface that I had to develop because of what I went through. And that's she's right, because when I was a little girl, I was so gentle and so like well behaved and stoic. You almost wouldn't. I had to learn to be tough after being pushed around, kicked around, told I was being rude because I was just so genuinely sweet, but also very flat and kind of stoic. And some people actually like sort of considered that withdrawn thing as rude. And I mean, it doesn't matter which way I go, whether I'm like soft and withdrawn, that could be pathologized that I'm being all creepy and manipulative. And if I'm like angsty, people are like, well, she's just being like a bitch, right? So I really can't win either way. Um, yeah, I mean, anyway, point is that I do seem to sort of kind of change in the face of my character a little bit depending on what I'm talking about and how I feel about it. And that makes me feel kind of like I feel kind of that makes me feel a little disconnected with a whole sense of self. It's funny because my Reiki master does this reconnective healing work on me, and when she does this reconnective thing and she swirls her hands around to apparently reconnect all of my like compartmentalizations everywhere, I feel so good. I feel like I'm just whole, and it's like, I know maybe not everyone believes in that, but Reiki works for me, and I need to go over and see her. Actually, my neck is killing, but especially that reconnective thing, and it must be because I do feel disconnected, which is so ironic because I think fluidly and I see how things all interrelate to each other, but I almost think I do this because I'm naturally like very like compartmental and subcompartmental and that kind of thing. So I do things backwards. I feel like non-autistics kind of compartmentalize after we are compartmental first, and then we kind of connect the dots and see how they relate, like Lego pieces, Lego pieces. Good one. I think I've been around, I think my son is having an influence. Yeah, like we see how things connect and interrelate after, because we see all of these compartmentalizations here, and we feel kind of all disconnected and shattered, and we want to just sort of like make a mosaic out of it kind of thing. So I think it's sort of backwards. Anyway, I went off on a tangent here. Total tangent. Bottom line, multifaceted, one at a time. My brain isn't very good at multitasking, to be honest, and when I'm generating emotion and language, it is once again foreign to me. Because I think in like codes and music and and God knows what. Am I human? I sometimes I'm not sure. Bottom line is that I do feel kind of freakish when my judgmental voice looks at my videos and goes, wow, you seem like a real different person in this video, in this video, in this video. But in my heart, that's what my head says. But in my heart, I know that it's part of my neurology and part of my coping, and that it's totally come by honestly, and that I'm not a freak. Because my head says those kinds of things to me, receiving mean comments or mean reports from psychiatrists or mean stuff like that can do a number on my head, because I'm still, learning to accept me. I've got the facts now. I've got the facts on female Asperger's, and I need to learn more and more, because the more that I learn, the more I'm going to be like, oh, hey, I do this because of this reason. This is purely neurological. It's not my fault. Science backs this. I'm not a freako. Freud isn't going to be like turning in his grave at me. This isn't something to be psychoanalyzed. I'm a good person. I have a neurological condition that causes me to have these quirks. Ultimately, I haven't ever had a chance to really find me completely yet, because I was too busy surviving. I was too busy coping. I was too busy acting. What the hell do you expect? For me to really know me all the way? I'm still learning. I'm going to be like 55 and finally I burst into tears and finally be like, I think I finally knew who I am. Oh my God. And then it'll be the greatest day ever. But until then, there is a hole in me. And I will continue to speak out for other people. A lot of people feel that and they are confused about their identities, especially autistic women. So that's the bottom line, is that personality-wise, we feel like there's something wrong with us. Well, there really, really isn't. And I have to tell myself that every day, like I'm with you on it. There really isn't anything wrong with us. We're good people. People can be horrible all they want, but the worst thing in the world, despite how horrible other people are being, is for us to also be horrible to ourselves whilst listening to those people and taking their crappy, outdated information literally. So there's new information out there about Asperger's, so let's all explore it together and make, blog about it and video about it, and it's massive. We have the tip of the iceberg. So, yeah,